Welcome back to another video. Today I'll be previewing Bradford City's EFL Cup game against Accrington Stanley tomorrow night. It's going to be a fascinating game. Accrington Stanley tipped to come towards the bottom again like Crawley were, but they're a very good team. It's going to be a very good challenge and it's going to be a big one because we haven't got past the third round of the EFL Cup since the 2012-13 side that got to a final and obviously were defeated by Swansea 5-0. But, you know, previous to that, the furthest we got was the third round, and we got knocked out to MK Dons 2-0 in the 2014-15 season. Last season we got to a second round, and were defeated by Blackburn 2-1 after beating Hull at home previous to that. So how far can we go this season? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Like the video if you did, and subscribe if you're new. It's a tough challenge, because obviously against Crawley we were so poor. We've got to bounce back quickly against Accrington. Something I think about the EFL Cup is the first game of the season. Let me know if you disagree. I think you might because of heritage and tradition, but for me the first game of the season should be the EFL Cup first round. I think you get the pre-season out of you. It's your first competitive game, being as pressurised and ain't as big as the first league game of the season. Because I'm not going to be massively frustrated if we lose to Accrington and we're out the Cup first round. I'm not going to be that annoyed by it. You might not be, you might be. You know, it's difference of opinion. Whereas the first game against Crawley, we meltdown, you know, sack Gent, sack Hughes, you know, Ash Taylor, we don't want to see you play again. You know, everything's so pressurised and heated if you lose that first game. Whereas Accrington, it's still a bit of a, you know, you've got time to wake up in this game. Neither team are going to be going for it as much as we were on Saturday. You can still trial things out, but it's still a big game and still want to win it. So the 2012-13 side, that were 11 years ago now, and maybe we need to forget about that side. I think it's good to still look back and you know, see what we did, because it was still a massive achievement, and I don't think we'll ever see a Division 4 side, a League 2 side, get to a final of a major domestic competition in England ever again, and that just shows how big of an achievement it was, and probably doesn't get talked about as much as it probably should. But last Saturday wasn't the game we wanted, and hopefully we can put that aside and move on now and forget about it and put that wrong to right on to tomorrow night against Accrington Stanley, whose key players for me, if I had to pick three out, were Tommy Lee, 7 goals last season, very tidy player, got a great assist on the weekend against Newport, just dinked it over the defence through to goal scorer escapes me, but really good player and probably one of the shining lights from the last few seasons and probably should be still in League 1. Sean McConville can still play, I mean he's 34, so it's still a challenge for him, but still getting assists, still contributing to that side. And Josh Andrews, now not the most clinical striker, not the best striker in League 2 this season, but he's 6'5" and he's going to be an handful, so that could impact my squad selection. Let me know yours in the comments down below. But if I had to pick 3 key players out there, would be the key players for Accrington Stanley going into this game. If you're an Accrington fan, let me know who your key players are. What can we expect from Accrington? We can probably expect a team that will punish our mistakes, set traps, and won't be afraid to sit in a bit deep and soak up a lot of possession, soak up a lot of our possession, and they'll probably bombard us with crosses as well. When you look at the goals from Saturday against Newport County, 2 of them were crosses, and most of the highlights reel were crosses, which, you know, ain't ought to be afraid of, because that's something you could level against one of our weaknesses, putting crosses into a box. We haven't seemed to do for many years. Past and present, Kelvin Mellor, obviously been quite around since leaving us in 18-19 maybe, and he was terrible for us. He seems to do a job everywhere else, but he's a bit like Ash Taylor, where he only seemed to get selected by Gary Bowyer because of his long throw, and hopefully Ash Taylor don't become like that, where he's only been picked because he's got one asset out of, you know, all the assets that he should have for a centre back. Richards Everton, funnily enough, there has been a poll going around who's worse, Everton or Ash Taylor. Now I think it's a really tough one. I'm not willing to put Taylor in behind him just after one game, but there's definitely an argument to be had there. But Richards Everton did play for Accrington, and we in fact got him from them after they released him as a free agent when we got relegated to League 2. And from what I gathered, he seemed to be quite a well-liked, decent player over there, but of course if you're an Accrington fan, you watched him every week. We watched him every week and they were terrible, and easily goes into the worst 11 of all time for me anyway, especially in the last few seasons. And then to complete the list of terrible Bradford City players who we've shared is Curtis Guthrie. He only played 13 games in 2011-12 season. I think that was his breakout season, and he's never seemed to have one since, apart from when he went to India. But he was terrible for us, especially when Stuart McCall played him as a left winger. I don't know what went through his mind to put him on the left flank, but terrible player for us, like the other two were as well. So terrible past and present there. Head-to-heads, we played 17 games against Accrington Stanley, won 4, drew 5 and lost 8. The last 5 results being a 3-0 win for us, a 3-1 defeat, a 2-1 defeat, a 0-0 defeat on penalties. Went to penalties, we drew 0-0 and lost on pens. And we won 2-1 as well, as far back as the 5 games go. But we haven't won at the Rams Stadium since 2008, and that was a 3-2 win. And I think that was when Stuart McCall was in his first season or his second season as a manager. That you might say that, well, you can flip that either way. You can say we haven't played that much, but still 6 visits without a win to Accrington, which isn't good enough. And it's very similar to the record we've had at Crawley. So hopefully we can turn that coin around, and hopefully we can get a win tomorrow night. So into my starting 11, let me know yours in the comments down below. For me, I would stick with the back 3. I think we've got to try and keep the trust in it. You know, if we went through pre-season with it, Mark Hughes will be under massive pressure if he don't stick with it, because you know it shows a weakness in his management if he don't stick with it. But we've got to improve from Saturday. We can't get much worse than that. Lewis made a very good save in the second half and was decent. The goal we conceded was his fault because he didn't set up the wall right. Something I forgot to say in my match reaction. It didn't look right that there were only 3 players in the wall. There should have been a 4th man in there. He still picks himself in our team. Halliday right wing back, that picks itself because Oyugoke is suspended. Right centre back, I've got Matty Platt. I think he picks himself in the back 3. He is the most starter. Came on for Taylor for an Achilles injury. I'm not too sure about that, but I think he came on, looked solid. Last season was one of our better centre backs, and that was up against Stubbs and Critchlow, which made him look like a bad centre back because he was good compared to them. You know, he's a must start, and he was massively under criticised last season. Then you're looking at the other 2. The central centre back, I would go with Kelly. Now, without Taylor, I would have started Taylor. You can slate me all you want, but against Josh Andrews, all 6'5" of him, it's a perfect opponent for Ash Taylor. You can get tight to him, you can try and dominate him in the air, and I think that would have suited him. But I'll go with Kelly as the central centre back. On the left side, I've gone with ODUSINA. We massively missed him against Crawley. Even if they don't possess a lot of pace in that front line, Accrington, you've got to have someone. You've got, if you're playing a back 3, you've got to have 3 different types of centre backs. You've got to have one who's more physical and tall, who offers that height and can battle with the taller strikers and physical ones like Kelly in this back 3. Matty Platt, a bit more of an all-rounded centre back, and then an ODUSINA who's more pacey and can recover for the other 2's mistakes. And ODUSINA's the key man in the back line, and he's got to start on a more regular basis. GILLIEAD as left wing back. I'm not going to select Liam Rydell throughout the season unless Mark Hughes does on a Saturday and he has a fantastic game, and then I'm going to select him. Because from what I've seen throughout my time watching him play for Bradford City, I am not convinced, and he's a terrible footballer. Not going to judge him, but I can judge him from what I see with the eye test on the football pitch, and he's terrible. So I'm going with GILLIEAD, who's more of a well-rounded player. When you look at Odra against an Accrington, who are going to be quite physical, you need someone who's going to do the defensive duties, and I think GILLIEAD combines that well. Smallwood and East in midfield. I think Smallwood gives you that physical advantage in the midfield, will battle with players. He's got to sit a bit deeper. We looked up and to counter-attack on Saturday, and he ain't a forward playing player, he ain't a forward thinker. He isn't someone who's going to create anything in the final third. Let him just defend, and let East and Osadebe in the midfield 3 just carry the ball forward and spray it about a bit, and that's why I've gone with East and Osadebe. They can do the defensive duties, they can use the physicality, so that's why I picked them. I would have probably gone McDonald and Smallwood if McDonald were fit, but I do like what they offer on the ball as well, so I would go with them too. Walker behind the striker. I think Walker has looked good in pre-season, looked good against Crawley, and hopefully can keep on with this form because it does look to be pretty consistent for him. So hopefully he can have a good game behind Andy Cook. Now, I'm not sure, I haven't read too much into it, if Andy Cook is available, but if he isn't, that's Andy Cook, you'd suspect Tyler Smith and Verdane Oliver all out, which leaves you Matty Derbyshire, who doesn't really look up to the pace to be starting up front on his own, for Bradford City, for a full 90 minutes. So that highlights how set up we are going into the season. We still need 2, 3, maybe even 4 players to come in from now to the end of a window. Hopefully we can do that, but that's my team. I'm going to go with a 2-0 win for City. A bit more optimistic coming into this one because our terrible record against Crawley and just them being the favourites to go down, you just knew that we weren't going to win that one. Accrington will pose some challenges. Hopefully we're ready for those, and hopefully we can progress to a second round, but more importantly get back to winning games away from home, because we haven't won away from home in quite some time. That were Northampton last season, not counting pre-season games. We've only won 2 of our last 9 away games, losing 3 and drawing 3 as well. So not good enough away from home at the minute, much better at home. So hopefully we can win tomorrow night, progress to a second round, and then take a bit of confidence going into our first home game at Valley Parade on the second game of the League 2 season. Let me know your thoughts going into a game in the comments down below. Like the video if you did, subscribe if you're new. Have a good one.